Tonight, more than 170 million Americans on alert for dangerous, life-threatening heat. A random stabbing spree at a Walmart in Michigan, injuring nearly a dozen people, and passengers evacuated as a plane catches fire during takeoff. First, the brutal heat wave, the extreme heat stretching from the Midwest to Charleston, West Virginia, with feels-like temperatures in the triple digits. The health risks and travel delays. Amtrak warns passengers the scorching heat could disrupt travel. And when will we get some relief? Our weather team is standing by with the forecast. Overseas, soaring temperatures fuel wildfires in Greece, and in Turkey, thousands forced to evacuate their homes. The chaos at a Michigan Walmart, 11 people hurt in a mass stabbing. The dramatic confrontation between bystanders and the alleged suspect outside of the store. The suspect now faces terrorism charges. President Trump makes a preliminary trade deal after a high-stakes meeting with the European Commission chief in Scotland just days before Friday's tariff deadline. What we're learning tonight. Our Rachel Scott reports from Scotland. Israel is allowing more food aid trucks into Gaza and restarts power to a critical water treatment plant as anger grows over the hunger crisis. Reports that nurses are passing out from starvation and hospitals are feeding babies water instead of formula. The harrowing ordeal for passengers on an American Airlines flight in Denver, forced to use slides to evacuate on the runway as flames and smoke erupt underneath the plane. What we're learning tonight. The hunt for a suspect after what appears to be a double homicide at Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. A couple out hiking with their young daughters when police say they were attacked. A skipper crashes a yacht into a seawall in California's Marina Del Ray. Why he's being hailed a hero tonight. The surprise performance on the final show of Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour, and the emotional family reunion, more than 75 years in the making, continues.
From ABC News World Headquarters in New York, this is World News Tonight.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us on this Sunday. I'm Lindsay Davis. As we come on the air tonight, a huge swath of the country is bracing for life-threatening heat and dangerous humidity. Some cities will feel like it's hotter than 110 degrees, including Memphis, Tampa, and St. Louis. In Phoenix, Arizona, rescue teams were forced to save 8 hikers overcome by the heat. 2 of them had to be taken to the hospital. Amtrak warns passengers that this heat could disrupt travel, possibly causing delays. And the smoke from those Canadian wildfires is triggering air quality alerts in New York City, covering the Statue of Liberty in a haze. Our weather team is standing by with the forecast. But first, Perry Russom leads us off from Washington, D.C.
Tonight, dangerous high heat sparking thunderstorms as more than 170 million Americans are under a heat alert. In Phoenix, Arizona, rescue team saving 8 hikers overcome by heat on Camelback Mountain. 2 of them sent to the hospital.
They really underestimated what that challenge can be on that mountain. They did have water. They ran out of water. They didn't have enough water.
In Florida, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers holding training camp on a day that broke an all-time record high of 100 degrees. The heat turning deadly. Health officials in Dallas County, Texas, reporting their first heat-related death of the summer, a man in his 60s. And in Maryland, the Department of Health says there have been 13 deaths so far this season. Amtrak warning riders the boiling temperatures may force trains to run slower, potentially causing delays.
Know your limits. If it's feeling too hot for you, just go inside. It's not worth it to, suffer through this.
Extreme heat warnings in the Carolinas, forcing people to search for any kind of relief.
We're trying to stay by the pool, stay by the water if we can.
Tom George from our station WTVD is in Raleigh, where power companies say they were increasing output.
Our local electric companies also urging people not to set their AC too low to avoid putting a strain on the grid.
Major air quality alerts in New York City, where today it's home to the 10th most polluted air in the world. Smoke from Canadian wildfires to blame, blanketing the Statue of Liberty. Here in D.C., thunderstorms causing ground stops at all 3 major airports in the area. We have hit the 90s every day since Friday. That is forecast to continue until Thursday. Lindsay.
Rough time for travelers. Perry, thank you. Let's get right to meteorologist Danny Beckstrom from our New York station WABC. Good evening to you, Danny. When will we finally get some relief from this heat?
Not until the second half of the work week, and that's part of the problem, Lindsay. Long duration with little relief through the overnight hours means the danger lasts for days. And check out the eastern half of the country, generally under some sort of heat alert, right? With the heat index values up to 100 degrees for the areas in orange. But the pink, that's your extreme heat warning. That's where we'll see heat index values up to 115. That's Omaha. That's Memphis. That's Raleigh. The focus of the extreme heat on Monday, the mid-Atlantic down through the southeast. I want to point out Tampa, actual air temperature today reaching 100 degrees. That was an all-time record. And tomorrow, the heat index value up to 110. It's why we're seeing that level 4 out of 4 extreme risk in parts of the mid-Atlantic and southeast. That is dangerous for your body, for those that don't have proper access to hydration and cooling, and dangerous for infrastructure. And again, the long duration is a big factor, Lindsay. We see this heat holding through at least the middle of the week.
Have to hydrate. Danny, thank you so much. Now the chilling new details about a random mass stabbing at a Walmart in Michigan. The dramatic confrontation between bystanders and the alleged suspect outside of the store. 11 people were hurt, but police say those bystanders saved lives. The suspect now faces multiple charges, including terrorism. Here's ABC's Reena Roy.
Throw the knife that way! Throw it away!
Tonight, dramatic new video shows Good Samaritans confronting an alleged knife-wielding suspect outside a Michigan Walmart just moments after police say he went on a stabbing spree, targeting people at random. One man pointing a gun at him as others rushed to help the injured.
Multiple citizens, including one who was armed with a pistol, were confronting the male suspect in the parking lot and preventing him from harming further people.
Police identifying the suspect as 42-year-old Bradford James Gilley, saying he entered the store in Traverse City just before 5 p.m. on Saturday and began attacking people starting near the checkout area with this folding knife that has a 3.5-inch blade.
I need units inside Walmart, got multiple victims.
Gilley now facing terrorism charges. Authorities say 11 people were hurt, including one store employee, their ages ranging from 84 to 29 years old. 6 of them initially in critical condition, but now showing encouraging signs of recovery. Julia Martell was shopping in the canned foods aisle when she saw the violence unfold.
Then I heard screaming, and I went towards the screaming, and I saw the guy with the knife shove somebody. And after he shoved him, he was headed in my direction.
Authorities say a sheriff's deputy arrived within just 3 minutes of that first 911 call. And tonight, police also crediting those bystanders who helped detain the suspect.
But again, I cannot commend everyone that was involved enough.
Police say Gilley is also facing 11 counts of assault with intent to murder. So far, no word on a motive. Lindsay?
Reena, thank you. President Trump reached a preliminary trade deal with the European Union after months of tense talks. His tentative agreement comes after a high-stakes meeting in Scotland. Both sides have decided on a 15% tariff on most EU goods, including cars. ABC senior political correspondent Rachel Scott reports from Scotland tonight.
Congratulations. Tonight, a major breakthrough in trade talks. President Trump announcing a deal with the European Union after a high-stakes meeting in Scotland.
This is probably the biggest deal ever reached in any capacity, trade or beyond trade.
The president inviting the EU's top official to the Trump-Turnberry golf course, warning a steep 30% tariff would go into effect on August 1st if a deal was not reached. The EU prepared to retaliate with a tax on $100 billion worth of U.S. goods.
I'd like to see it resolved. But if it isn't, we'll, have tariffs.
But just an hour later, Trump summoning reporters back into the room, announcing the two sides had reached an agreement, settling on a 15% tariff on most goods, including cars.
We have a trade deal between the two largest economies in the world. And it's a big deal. It's a huge deal. It will bring stability.
The president says the EU, which is made up of 27 countries, agreed to buy $750 billion in energy from the U.S., as well as a large amount of military equipment, and invest $600 billion more than they're already investing. Trump says other countries now have just 5 days to come to the table.
No. The August 1st is there for everyone. The deals all start on August 1st.
If no agreement is reached, South Korea will be hit with 25% tariffs, South Africa 30%, Myanmar and Laos 40%.
This was the big one. This is the biggest of them all.
And Lindsay, the president says the 50% tariff on steel and aluminum imports will remain in place. It comes as a new Wall Street Journal and Fox News poll shows that the majority of Americans disapprove of the president's handling of tariffs and the economy overall. Tomorrow, the president will be meeting with the British Prime Minister Keir Starmer to fine-tune the details of the trade deal reached with the UK on the sidelines of the G7 summit last month. Lindsay.
Rachel Scott for us. Thanks so much, Rachel. Now to the hunger crisis in Gaza. Israel's now pausing some fighting and reopening aid routes. Food deliveries resumed today after images of emaciated children sparked global alarm about what critics call man-made mass starvation. And we do want to warn you, these images may be disturbing. Here's ABC's Inez de la Quintara.
Amid growing global outrage over starvation in Gaza, tonight, 28 pallets of aid dropped from the sky. Malnourished crowds rushing to the food, the most desperate fighting over a bag of flour. Following weeks of international pressure, the IDF now allowing for airdrops to resume. It's also implementing what they call tactical pauses in 3 densely populated areas and setting up humanitarian corridors to ensure the safe passage of aid convoys. Hundreds swarming those trucks, clawing for food. Everyone with humanity, for God's sake, have a look at these poor people, says this man. One dies 1 million deaths to get his family's food. While the aid is welcome, humanitarian organizations say far more is needed. Oxfam writing in a statement, deadly airdrops and a trickle of trucks won't undo months of engineered starvation. For weeks, malnourished children have been wasting away, gaunt and frail. Dr. Nick Maynard recently returned from volunteering in Gaza.
In the early part of my stay there, 4 premature newborn babies died entirely of malnutrition.
Tonight, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu pushing back.
There is no policy of starvation in Gaza, and there is no starvation in Gaza.
At least 29 people were killed on Sunday trying to access food, according to the Hamas-run Gaza Health Ministry, after local officials say the IDF opened fire near aid sites.
And tonight, President Trump saying Israel will soon have to make a decision on how to proceed in Gaza, adding the U.S. will do more to help civilians, but also calling on other countries to participate. Lindsay?
Inez, thank you. Back here in the U.S., 3 people are dead after a small plane crashed off the California coast. This comes just hours after a terrifying ordeal for passengers in Denver, forced to use a slide to evacuate a plane that caught fire while on the runway in Denver. The new details coming in tonight. Here's ABC's Reena Roy.
Tonight, 3 people found dead after an hours-long desperate search off the California coast after a small plane plunged into the Pacific. The Coast Guard confirming a twin-engine Beechcraft went down around 11 p.m. Saturday, just 200 yards from shore near Monterey. Crews racing in, battling darkness and cold water, finally finding all 3 on board the plane unresponsive. That crash coming just hours after dramatic video shows passengers evacuating this American Airlines flight.
23 is boarding on the runway. 3023, roger. 3023, you got a lot of smoke.
The Miami-bound jet speeding down the Denver International runway, reaching 146 miles per hour before aborting takeoff.
I would estimate about 5 to 10 seconds before we were supposed to actually start flying. We heard a loud boom. And I said, that's not good.
The airline blaming an issue with the tire. And 1 person was taken to the hospital with minor injuries. The airline says the plane was taken out of service for inspection. Lindsay.
Scary moments there, Zareen. Thank you. Now to the manhunt for a suspect after a double homicide in an Arkansas state park. A couple was out hiking with their young daughters when police say they were attacked. Let's bring in ABC's Ike Ajachi. Ike, what are you learning tonight?
Yeah, Lindsay, an urgent search is underway for the suspect in what appears to be a double homicide inside the popular Devil's Den State Park in Arkansas. Police finding the bodies of a husband and wife who they say were out hiking in a remote area of the park with their 7- and 9-year-old daughters. Authorities say the girls were not hurt and are with family members. An autopsy will determine the causes of their death. Authorities closing off the area to conduct their investigation, and police say the suspect is a white man with a medium build seen driving a dark sedan with tape covering the license plate. And the FBI is offering their assistance. Lindsay?
Ike, thanks so much. Now to the political firestorm over the Jeffrey Epstein case files. A bipartisan congressional duo is now pushing for the release, warning that failure to act could cost the Republicans in next year's midterm elections. More now from ABC senior White House correspondent Selena Wang.
Tonight, President Trump an ocean away from Washington, but still unable to escape the controversy around the case of convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein.
Mr. President, was part of the rush to get this deal done to knock the Jeffrey Epstein story out?
Oh, you got to be kidding with that. No, had nothing to do with it. Only you would think that. That had nothing to do with it.
The political firestorm growing even as House Speaker Johnson sends lawmakers home early for the summer, shutting down efforts to force a vote to release more government files related to Epstein.
I think the pressure is going to build over August recess.
Republican Thomas Massie joining Democrat Ro Khanna to force their release, warning failure to do so could cost Republicans in next year's midterms.
What is painful about having this vote? I'll tell you what's politically going to be a liability is if we don't vote on this and we go into the midterms and everybody becomes, they just check out because Republicans didn't keep their promise.
Speaker Johnson firing back, claiming their effort could harm innocent victims.
Our concern is that the Massie and Khanna discharge petition is reckless in the way that it is drafted and presented.
Massie and Khanna also calling to subpoena Epstein's estate, which the Wall Street Journal reported has a birthday book from 2003 containing a letter from Trump to Epstein. Trump has denied that such a letter exists and sued the paper over the story. ABC News has not confirmed the existence of the letter. When Epstein was arrested in 2019, Trump said they had a falling out and hadn't spoken in 15 years.
Well, I think we should get a lot more than just the book. Let's get the financial records of the estate. Follow the money, as they say up here.
And Lindsay, Republican lawmakers are now heading home to meet with their constituents. They'll try to tout President Trump's major legislative wins, but they're also expected to face a lot of tough questions about Epstein, with many of President Trump's own supporters demanding answers. Lindsay?
Selena Wang from the White House for us. Thank you, Selena. In Turkey, wildfires, one lawmaker described as an apocalypse. More than 7,400 acres are burning near Bursa, Turkey's fourth largest city, where at least 14 people have been killed and more than 1,500 forced from their homes. The flames fueled by a heat wave with temperatures above 120 degrees. That same heat is fueling wildfires in Greece, at least 50 burning across the country. Still ahead on this Sunday night, the end of Beyonce's tour, destined to be memorable for her fans. And find out why this yacht crash has some calling the boat's captain a hero. Next tonight, a yacht slams into a seawall at California's Marina Del Ray. The crash caused a panic for customers at a nearby restaurant, but the ship's captain is being called a hero. Investigators say he steered into the wall on purpose to avoid other boats after a mechanical failure. Fortunately, no one was hurt. When we come back, the unexpected end to Beyonce's Cowboy Carter tour. To the index, a surprise for Beyonce's fans to end her Cowboy Carter tour. The Las Vegas crowd was treated to a Destiny's Child reunion. Michelle Williams and original member Kelly Rowland all took to the stage. Destiny's Child had not performed together since 2018. 5 men have joined baseball's all-time greats in Cooperstown. Dick Allen, Dave Parker, CC Sabathia, Ichiro Suzuki, and Billy Wagner were all officially inducted into the Hall of Fame today. Sabathia and Suzuki were first ballot picks. Wagner took 10 tries to get in. Allen and Parker both honored posthumously. When we come back, a Christmas miracle extends into the summer. Finally tonight, a 76-year-old man and his newfound family continue to make new memories. We first introduced you to Dixon Hanshaw last Christmas. Dixon! When he received a holiday gift beyond his wildest dreams, meeting his half-sister and 5 half-brothers, all for the very first time.
That's what I call it, my Christmas miracle.
For more than 75 years, Dixon thought he was an only child.
All my life, I dreamed about having siblings.
After learning late last year of a New York state law, Dixon requested his original pre-adoption birth certificate and made that first call to his oldest brother, Gary.
And he says, "Hi, my name's Dixon. I'm your brother."
Both men were in shock. Dixon sent a picture of himself. Gary shared it with his siblings. They immediately thought he looked like their dad. So last Christmas, Dixon met the whole family, 52 people, all of them his relatives.
Yeah.
Fast forward to this weekend. Dixon checked in with us to let us know the miracle continues. He and his wife Carla were invited to his newfound family's annual summer camping vacation in the Adirondacks. 46 family members of all ages, sharing in summertime traditions going back to 1952. In between lakeside lunch, cards, and canoeing, Dixon passed along this message of gratitude.
Now we are going to be part of that tradition, so the miracle definitely continues.
Nothing beats family. Thanks for watching. I'm Lindsay Davis. Good night.
David Muir, the most watched newscast in America. And now, ABC's World News Tonight has won the Emmy for Best Live News Program for the third year in a row.